What's going on, YouTube? Zero Lead here, back again with a new video, episode 65, the Disco Era U.S.S. Enterprise tutorial. I just want to thank you very much for tuning into today's episode, and if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And today we got about a 25-minute video. We're going to be reworking our well, not necessarily fully reworking. We'll be reworking / tweaking the main deck of our engineering. We're going to complete that in today's episode, so let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to go right in through the upper airlock. And we're going to look straight up. And it's the same thing on both sides, but with the first cut down here, we're going to be adding a wall here. We're going to be bringing it down by 2, I believe. That's 1, and then 2. And we're just going to do that going all the way across. Not all the way across. We're actually going to stop until we get to the other side of the wall, I think. As I got to do right here. But as soon as we hit this back wall that goes in the actual warp core, we're not going anything further than that. So when you hit that back wall, stop. And I actually stand corrected. That's actually 3 down we're going to go. Because I don't know, just as I've been going through this build, every time I pass through engineering, I just think about it. I was like, you know, man, this just really didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it to. So I just decided that, you know what, I want to go ahead and we're just going to rework it. And we're not really making a heck of a lot of change here. We're really just going to be making changes to the side here. You can see I'm just kind of adding in a couple of extra layers as we go. I think this is going to be the 5th row that we should be on now. I think it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Either 5 or 6. We're going to have to go back and watch that again, but I believe that's 5 or 6 rows down. But you should have a flat wall just like this. And, oh, got the wrong color there. We're just going to flesh out our bracket, well, our ribbing going along the roof here. So we're just going to add in a block under each one. We're going to have to switch over to the light gray and then do the same thing for the light gray. And then what we can do going along the roof in the corner here, we can do single row of blocks going across. And I think that'll help give it a nice little transition, the different shapes, and it won't be just a regular square room. That looks pretty solid. I like that. So we're going to be getting rid of these computer panels here. You can see on this side here, I just added light gray going along the side, and then we're kind of making like a doorway, and then we're going to have do the same thing on this side as well. This is actual stairs that come down from our airlock. In fact, going across this bar right here, we're going to switch this out to the gray as well to highlight it. Like I said, we'll be taking out the computer consoles right here in the middle, and we're going to be kind of like, I mean, I'm not necessarily exactly sure what you could call it. I mean, you can pretty much pick a name for any type of imaginary part that's inside the engineering bay on the Enterprise. But at the end of the day, I was just trying to come up with something that looked kind of mechanical and went with the pictures a little bit off of a little bit better than what I had. But this isn't, you know, again, it's not an exact copy of either the Disco Era Enterprise Engineering Bay or the TOS. It's kind of like a blending between the two based off of the room I had to work with here. So I'm adding my gray line on that side of the doorway. And this whole walkway, we'll be filling this in right up until we get to the turbo, or excuse me, the airlock door. We won't be closing that in, and of course we won't be closing in right in front of that the walkway to go into the deflector control room. And I had somebody actually ask me a question recently regarding my starship builds. If I just either like the ships from Star Trek in general, or if I do actually like the Star Trek. And answer your question, I actually enjoy both. I grew up with the William Shatner movies, and that was my first introduction to Star Trek. Out of the movies, my favorite Star Trek, believe it or not, is Star Trek The Voyage Home. That movie has a ton of heart, even though it's about saving whales. I don't care. I love every minute of it. Um, but other than that, I love Star Trek TNG. I mean, I love almost pretty much every version of Star Trek. I think the only Star Trek that I really didn't care for too much was Discovery, but I will still sit through Discovery just because it's Star Trek. Um, really, the only gripe that I have with Star Trek Discovery is that they made Starfleet villains, and that the show had no optimism and hope. And I feel like, especially right now in these times, we need an optimistic and hopeful Star Trek now more than ever. We really do. Which brings me into one of the new shows that's out right now, Star Trek Lower Decks. I know this show's got a little bit of guff, but I'm telling you, if you haven't seen that show, check it out. It's kind of got like a little bit of Family Guy humor in it. I mean, it's animated, but it has it's hopeful, optimistic Star Trek at its core, and it has those values in it. But it's within a comedy wrapper, and I got through the first couple of episodes, and I've really been enjoying that show. But I want to hop back in here a little bit. What I got going on, you can see that we're in our deflector control room, just making a couple minor changes here. I'm sorry it's a little dark right here. This is one of the last pre-recordings, and we should be caught up. I think there's only about 6 more pre-recordings that I have from the original recording sessions that I made for this. And I was on yesterday and I was on today actually doing new recording sessions. So um, I think in just the next couple of videos here, we should be at least caught up to more recent stuff, because I'm really been trying to make it a goal, as I've been going through this ship. Once I start an area, to try to finish it and flesh it out as much as I can, rather than jumping back and forth. That's why we're doing the remainder of this main deck of engineering in one video, rather than splitting it up into two, or splitting up into two parts coming out, maybe like a week apart, or, however I had it before. Trying to do it a little bit more organized, basically. You can see I'm just kind of like clearing out these little cubby holes that I made, and I'm flattening them out. Now, ultimately, what we're going to do here for this corner that I'm in right now, this is actually going to be a facade for a Jeffries tube. Because in TOS, when Scotty was always fixing the Enterprise, or pretty much in TOS, I think from what I can remember, Scotty was always in two places. He was always in engineering, or he was in a Jeffries tube. Now, my Enterprise doesn't have the Jeffries tube, but it has the facade for it. So that's really cool, and that's something that out of all my other ships, none of them have it. So this is just one of those other things that I tried to do a little bit differently with this ship that I haven't done before. What I would have loved to have had full size Jeffries tubes in it, but I just didn't have the room for it. Now I want to freeze here and talk about this picture real quick. I know we have a 25-minute video, and this is probably going to inflate it a little bit. I'm sorry, but I don't want to skip through it too fast where you're not seeing what I'm focusing on. So I brought this picture up for a reason, because this wall right here is essentially what we're building on both sides. So you can picture the wall that we just built is this piece right here, and the open box in the middle is what this is going to be. And we're going to fill this in with red glass, and then we'll do red and yellow, and the red concrete, and then yellow concrete. We'll do like pipes in the background. It'll look really nice. And we're going to do that on both sides. And I think that is really going to complement this room and really help to sell it that it's the TOS Enterprise, because this is kind of like what we had going on before, and I don't know, I'm not feeling it. I think this is honestly the way to go with it. So now we're going to get rid of these computer consoles that we had put in previously, and we're going to start to transition this more into what the screenshot is, because the screenshot of engineering, that is the finished one that will be set on by the end of this video. Um, I know last time we worked on engineering, I showed a screenshot for this version of it, but we just weren't quite there yet. But I wanted to show everybody what the finished version of it was going to be. But sometimes, again, that's just kind of the way it is when you're doing these ships. Um, that there's a kind of a trial and error period to get where you want to be, basically. We're going to get rid of those blocks. We're going to get rid of this gray and the white quartz. And then we're going to get rid of that blue too. Let's see. So now we need yellow concrete. We've already got red concrete. I think that'll be pretty good. So now we're literally just going to replace this pillar with the yellow. And then this right pillar, we'll do the same thing. Replace that with the yellow. Then the middle here, we'll do red. And we want to get rid of that blue on the side. Don't want any loose blocks just hanging out there. It won't look too good. We can get rid of that lighter gray. And we're literally just going to fill this in by one, so this way the wall is one back from our piping. Well, what these pillars are, it's standing in for our piping. When we go in, we're going to close in this wall now. So now we're in actually the airlock door. We're going to bring that all the way up. Now I deleted that walkway to go into the deflector control room, but don't delete that because we're probably going to make at least one more pass in the deflector control room before this tutorial series is over, because I do want to do one last thing with it. I'm just still not 100% sure what I want to do with it, but that area just came out so good as is. I mean, it's been hard to figure out what exactly I want to do with it that's not going to cover up what we've already done already. I'm really honestly to the point where I might just almost kind of leave it kind of how it is. You see, hopping back in what we got going on here, this actually looks pretty good. And this, I think, really kind of captures the actual Discovery, or yeah, the Discovery Enterprise and then the TOS Enterprise. Sorry, kind of getting flustered there for a second as my cats are running across this house like bats out of heaven. That was a PG version, so try not to curse my videos. Anyway, getting back into what we got going on here. Now we're going to go into the other side of the ship, and we're just going to repeat the same process all over again on this side. I think at this point in the video, I was messing around to see if I wanted to do something differently, but ultimately we're just going to repeat the same thing over again. There we go. Now we're starting to get this stuff out of the way. Because at this point, I was trying to do like just some type of variation so not both sides were exactly the same, but I don't think it's going to look bad. I think now we're just going to go right back over to what we need to have. And that white concrete that we added in the middle, we're going to take that out. The light gray that we add in the bottom, that needs to stay because that matches the other side. But this row of half slabs that we're adding here, we're not going to keep that. That's just kind of a tester to see if I like it. But again, I haven't accepted the fact that we're just going to repeat the same thing from the other side. But again, sometimes it's just what you got to do. You got to mess around with it a little bit until you fall on something that you really like. And that's honestly a good way to do it too, because if you're torn and you're not 100% sure and you're really close to both sides, you can afford to do each side differently because you can pretty much look at both sides like right next to each other and see which one you like more, is what I'm getting at. And now even that doesn't look horrible, but I don't know. I think what we had on the left, that's just ultimately going to be the way to go. So now we're going to hop over. I believe this is now the third part. So I was just matching up, looking at the um, the left side to see what we want to do, or to make sure that what I'm going to be changing here on the right side matches. So you can see again, I'm going off of the pillars, the uh, gray pillars that we had. They're the dark gray ones. That's where I'm adding in my yellow pillars. So make sure to do the same on both sides. We're closing in the wall right on that pillar, on the light gray one. Let's get rid of that detailing. Let's get rid of that light gray and the blue and the white concrete. Is this wall is going to have to be moved back by one. And then the middle here, let's add the red pillar. Remember, the wall behind it is going to be one back. It's not going to be flush with your pillar piping here, because otherwise it's not going to give the right effect, is what I'm trying to get at. So let's go back to our red glass, and then we're going to fill in the front here. Also need to do the sides. This is going into the airlock. Perfect. And you know, as you can see, this wasn't super complicated to do. This just kind of dawned on me from looking at the screenshots. Now we're going to start messing with our Jeffries tube a little bit here. But you know, again, this is what will help you with ideas on your ship, because again, you know, you don't have to follow it 100% exact. And I'm sure that you've seen by now, as you've done these tutorials with me, that I don't try to keep my ship 100% accurate with what I'm seeing in a picture. You know, and I try to figure out a way to transition that picture into Minecraft the best way I can possibly, but at the same time, I'm not restricting myself to it 100%, and that allows for some fun to come into it, and you know, some creativity, but you know, also, you know, trying to be respectful to how the ship looks at the same time. So now we're trying to move our computer console here. We're going to move it right in front of the actual deflector control. And we're going to cover that up on this side too. And what we're going to do to cover that up is just bring that middle pillar out by one. Then we're going to have to thicken this circle going all the way around. Just add another layer to it. Again, not drastically redesigning anything, just slightly tweaking. Now we can see what we have to work with here. So basically, what I'm feeling that what we're gonna do is we're basically gonna build kind of like a bubble going around this bracket encasing the deflector inner workings. Well, not necessarily a bubble, but a ring going around it. And the reason I'm doing this on the underside is because I want it to match the top. Because if we leave that just how it is, it's going to look like crap. But if we start to fill in the sides and the bottom and blend it in, you'll never know that I literally did this just for the purpose of adding in those blocks on the other side so they look like a screen in the actual engineering part. This is definitely something that you can do on your builds, not even necessarily this one, any build. If you need to add in another layer on one side, and if you have the room to do it, just try to figure out a way to incorporate that change into your current build and just own it. And in all honesty, I think that looks a little bit better than what we had before. It looks a little bit more 3D. It doesn't look so blocky. I think that that works. That looks pretty good. Now for the computer console side, just on the bottom, we're going to switch that to the white, and we'll get rid of this line in the middle too while we're at it. I'm just kind of trying to look and see if there's any like different buttons that I want to use. This is the one downside. The ones that they have, I mean, they obviously, the redstone um, repeaters. I mean, they obviously move like switches, but they don't look all that much like Star Trek. So I don't really like to use them all that much. I mean, the TOS, if there was going to be a version of the Enterprise to use them on, the TOS Enterprise would probably be the one to do it. I think what we'll also do is get red carpeting, maybe try to see which one looks better. Because that's the thing too. If those switches don't look good, you can just honestly leave the carpeting there and just say that that's a computer console, and I think that people would probably get it. I mean, because again, it's Minecraft. There's only so much detail that you can get out of this game. But I think it would be better to have carpeting going across the top part of the console to give the impression that it's a touchpad rather than having nothing there at all, just because maybe the redstone button doesn't look that great. I'm trying to remember if it was at the end of this episode or if it was the next one. If we're gonna come back into this area to do the Jeffries tube, I could have sworn it was on this episode, and if it's not, I apologize for that. Then we'll have to come in here one more time to do those. But I could have sworn that we'd do it at the end of this video. I just don't know if we're gonna have enough time to do it within 3 minutes. But other than that, I think the change that we made here, I think it looks pretty darn good. You can see the blocks I'm adding going along the floor, don't do those. I'm just trying to get an idea of what I want to do here in this corner. Hasn't exactly dawned on me just yet that I can use that space in there for a Jeffries tube. At this point, I think I was more concerned with trying to figure out how to maybe do something with both of these corners, because as is, they look very plain on each side. And that was something that I did want to try to avoid, at least in the engineering part of the ship. So it doesn't look bad, but I mean, well, that actually does kind of look bad because that sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't like it one bit. And we're actually in our warp room where the warp core is, and just along the floor there, I'm going to be taking out the glass and then maybe doing the bottom with red. That might look better. Maybe just switch it back. We could even do gray. And in case you're wondering, the reason I'm doing gray right there is because these blocks right here are gray, and it kind of gives the impression that's one piece, at least for that row anyway. Gives it a little bit more solidarity, I think. So I don't think we're going to have enough time for this one to work on the Jeffries tube. So I apologize for that. We've got one tiny minute thing after this to do in this room, but then after that, we'll be able to call this room a done deal. We're going to make one minor change to this computer console right here. We're going to take out this top block, replace that with stairs going up, and then at the bottom one going down, and we'll get rid of the block in the middle. We're also going to get rid of the actual gray one right there, and then we'll place that with white concrete. Yeah, see, I think that looks pretty darn good like that now. Or maybe the black, or the dark gray, I should say. I think that's a preference. You could either do the light gray black, either or. You say I switched it back to the white because the dark just didn't look all that great. But I think that's going to wrap this one up. I just want to thank you again for tuning into today's episode, and apologize again. We didn't get all of engineering done, but I'm trying not to make these videos super long. If I do, it's just every once in a while. But we've only got one tiny minute thing to do on that room again, and that's to add in the Jeffries tubes, but that will be very simple. We're going to be moving on to other parts of the ship. Oh, I also had somebody ask me a question about the outside of the lower hull, if there was actually a star on them, on each side of the pinstriping, and there actually is. I was meaning to add that, but I haven't decided exactly how I want to go about doing the pattern just yet. As soon as I do, then I'm just going to tack that on with whatever tutorial or whatever part of the tutorial I'm working on. But other than that, I think that's going to wrap it up for me today. I just want to thank you very much again for tuning into today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And you can always catch my new Minecraft episodes Tuesdays through Fridays. And also, don't forget my new Starship Evo builds are always coming out on Mondays. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I just want to thank you very much again for tuning in. And I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And I will catch you on the next video.